Hi guys.
Sam, what is going on?
Hey, Sam.
It's Scott.
This is Scott. That's Mike over there, and that's Megan.
Mike.
In case
You know Megan.
Yeah.
Good to see you all today.
Sam, first off, thank you for giving us a few minutes, and it's really it's an honor to talk to you. Me and Mike calculated we've been trying to track you down for about 6 years, so this is like the culmination of like a lot of effort to
finally drinking together.
Yeah,
correct.
So well, please don't be boring, if you don't mind.
That's my goal. Not be boring.
So I guess the best way to start is, Megan sent us this hazy O that
I see your beer next to your bear behind you. A bear.
I got the beer, the milk that was sent, and the beer. So I was wondering when it was funny, I was watching your Instagram video a couple months ago or a month ago with the new releases, and I was hoping that we were going to be talking about hazy O because when I was brewing, I was obsessed with like trying oats and things and baking oatmeal in my oven, and a lot of it didn't come out great. But I'm very curious what is hazy O, when is it coming, and what can beer fans expect from it? And I guess should we pour the milk first, or should we try the beer first?
Let's drink the beer.
All right.
And if you feel like having a side shooter of oat milk, knock yourself out.
Yeah, I misplaced my beer, so I'll have a watermelon Rita, if you don't mind.
Interesting.
So tell us about hazy O, Sam.
Sure. So it really started, when we opened, we were the smallest brewery in the country in '95, and I wrote into the business plan back then, we would be the first commercial brewery in America, committed to brewing the majority of our beers outside the Reinheitsgebot using culinary ingredients. And it was true when we were the smallest brewery in the country, and it's true today as a top 20 craft brand. And so for us, we're always looking for inspiration, mostly from the culinary world. And I was at a indie coffee shop like 2 years ago, and the hipster barista was telling me I ordered like a cappuccino with almond milk. And he's like, dude, you got to try this with oat milk. Oat milk's so smooth, so frothy, so silky. And that's what got me thinking, we already 10 years ago, we brewed our first hazy, or more than that, with an unfiltered IPA called Squall, using oats over a decade ago. So we've been fucking with oats for well over a decade, but oat milk, I was like, And then I did a bunch of research and found this amazing company called Elmhurst in upstate New York, family owned, and they have their own unique proprietary way of processing the oat milk, so they don't need any gums or emulsifiers. It's just, water, oats, and salt are the only ingredients. So away we went and started screwing with the recipe, and we found that the oat milk just gives a super unique, when you drink this with me, I hope you'll see, it has the tropical juicy hop notes, but then it's got this really unique soft silky mouthfeel that makes it drink like a 5 ABV session.
I mean, I have it open in a glass right under my nose, and I'm getting tons of hops coming through it. So I'm excited for this first sip. So cheers, Sam. Thanks for doing this. Awesome.
Cheers, Michael. Cheers, Scott. Good to be here with you today. So let me know your impressions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely got that like real creamy kind of, almost like not as lactosey as some of the IPAs I've had. It's very smooth. I can see this being really good on like a hot day doing yard work and sitting by a fire or something like that. Well done.
Thank you. And it's got your classic sort of juicy Northwest hops, but then we found another unique hop that throws almost like a coconutty, almost cedar and coconut note underneath the tropical expected hop notes. And what's interesting is the oat milk, not only does it give that soft, silky mouthfeel, but it also kind of coats your mouth and as your whole like stomach really, and so you don't get that hop bite that you would get.
It's very comforting. Yeah. Like I feel like I want to just zone in and sit around and just have a couple of these, which I probably will.
We're doing it. Michael, what are your thoughts?
I mean, you're on point on everything. I mean, very tropical taste. I mean, what you brought up is kind of true. Like I kind of, as I got into brews, weren't huge on IPAs just because get a ton of like bitter on the hops on the back end, but I in the back of the throat, I got that nice linger. I get the taste of the hops, but I'm not getting that overly bitter kind of thing where it just kind of takes away from the tropical notes.
Yeah,
so it's very smooth, very.
Yeah.
Bravo, sir.
Oh,
Bravo.
thank you. Yeah.
I
So
think
what-
you should try more beers.
I really got to get into this brewing thing, you know?
Yeah.
So when does Hazy-O like come to the public?
So it just started rolling out coast to coast. It'll be a national release for us. But it
Let's
just
go.
started getting into stores about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So trucks are still shipping, but look for it. We have this awesome function on our dogfish.com website called a Fish Finder, and you can plug in your area code and find out stores close to wherever you live that bought Hazy-O recently. And the other thing we're really excited about for this beer is, even though oat milk itself is pretty expensive, we said, you know, we think this beer is so sessionable for a 7 ABV beer that we think it could be a lot of people's go-to hazy. So we wanted to, it's actually it's being priced at the same price as our 60-minute and our slightly mighty.
Oh, great.
So it's a $9.99 6-pack is what we're targeting. So really great bang for your buck when you think about a 7.1 ABV, you know, the first nationally oat milk infused IPA at that sort of national craft price. We think this could be a real big volume.
I agree, man. This is right up my alley.
All right.
It's funny that Megan sent us the beer and the milk, and I had just gone to Trader Joe's and and my wife comes marching through the door home from work, and she's like, "Oh, you bought oat milk?" and starts shaking. I'm like, "No, that's for the that's for the." She's gonna pour herself a fat glass of it. I'm like, "You gotta wait."
After today. And so that's the other thing when you think about oat milk. You know, so Hazy IPA is fastest growing beer style in America, grew almost 100% last year. Seltzers is the fastest growing alcohol style that grew almost 200% last year. Oat milk in 2020 grew 215%.
Wow.
So Hazy-O is really the first beer that sits in that perfect sweet spot between the hazy trend and the sort of better for you oat milk trend, and kind of both are exploding. So we think exponentially we're on to something here that a lot of people will resonate with a lot of people.
That's awesome. So Sam, I got some questions for you.
Sure.
You know, when you sit back and you think about the success and size and reach of Dogfish and the growth, is there still a part of you today that like misses that real humble beginning, like grinding stage of those early years? And like, how has your daily grind changed from then to now? Like, what is a day in the life of Sam like?
Well, you know, what's awesome is it really hasn't changed that much. I was sitting down drinking experimental Pilsners with 5 of my Boston beer brewer coworkers at 9:30 this morning after hosting a beer dinner virtually for my New Jersey distributors last night. So, we say at Dogfish, we never let the tail of money wag the dog of inspiration. So certainly we've got more resources to be experimental. We have a 10-gallon brewery, a 5-barrel brewery, a 7-barrel brewery that we can just throw shit at the wall Jackson Pollock style, while our big systems are pumping out our Warhols and our Monets. But, Michael, I'm looking at your hat, and that's a Tim Burton, I think, hat. And you think of someone that's as artistic and adventurous as Tim Burton, and yet he plays within the big studios to get his movies out coast to coast, but it doesn't change his ability to follow his creative muse. And that's the same with us. I'd be bummed out if I drove into Dogfish and our big 600-barrel fermenters in our front yard, if they were only filled with 60-minute, and I love 60-minute, I'd be like, we didn't live by our mission when we started this brewery. But the fact that those big giant tanks are filled with beers that have black limes in them, that have monk fruit in them, that have oat milk in them, I'm like, holy shit, we've done this in a way that allowed us to stay true to ourselves.
It's awesome.
Your whole story with wanting to change around things with beer, not be the traditional German kind of style. Like, I've listened to some of your interviews where you talked about, like, in your original, like, kind of beer fest, the guys are coming up to you, oh, this is insulting, you're using this, you're using that. I'm kind of curious, did you see more people coming to the fest as more like you, or did they change around more? What kind of gave it a sense where it's like, okay, my vision's starting to be what craft beer is today?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it was never like a tipping point. It was kind of like this slow, movement where more and more craft brewers starting brewing outside the Reinheitsgebot and embracing a broader definition of what ingredients could be. And even though it was like this slow boil, it was a great moment last week. Dogfish Head's proud to be the sponsor brewery of the Extreme Beer Fest, and we had to do it virtually this year. So Todd Ahlstrom and I sat on a Zoom call for 5 hours, 2 nights in a row, and we invited all the brewers in that sent beers in these packages to everyone participating virtually. And it was so cool because like 99% of the beers were beers that had fruited sours or citrus barley wines. And it was just really heartwarming because, I'm not a young dude anymore. I'm 51, but hearing the stories of these 25-year-old brewers and that, they were, a lot of them said really nice things about how we were a touchstone for them, with our creative brewing. It really just warms my heart to see how many more brewers are equally on their own creative journey without boundaries on how beer should be defined by ingredients.
That's awesome. I might have a story for you that might either warm your heart or creep you out, either one.
Okay.
But I was doing a master's class. I was finishing up a master's in education, and we got to choose kind of our last assignment, last paper. And one of the things I did a paper on 4 creative people that kind of inspired me. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I chose, one of them was you. So I was talking about, one of them was Edward Norton, the actor. One of them was Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And one of them was you. And the professor loved it. So much so, in fact, that he's like, I got to go try some of this Dogfish stuff after reading it. So it was pretty cool. So like I said,
that doesn't creep me out. That's rarefied company that you put me in, and
that's all right. That's all right.
And my sister got her master's in education at Smith, so you're doing God's work there.
Yeah. Someday.
That's awesome.
But I guess my question is, like, you've kind of been a creative person your whole life, whether it's writing or whatnot, from beer to marketing to you even recently opened an inn. How do you continue to keep that like I do comedy, and I always got to find myself doing something to keep that creative muscle strong. And like a pandemic has really hurt that. Trying to find different ways. How do you keep that creative muscle strong? Is it just beer, or are you still what is a process that you do to try to kind of stay creative? Because I feel like it's pretty important to you.
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I'd say the two biggest influences that kind of, float my creative boat would be making sure I have time every day to read, and I try not to read in our industry. I really don't read any business books or brewing books. I try to read in the art and music and sort of creative tangents related to beer, but not on the nose about beer. And then I try to take an hour every day to either usually paddleboard or row or be outside in nature doing some sort of physical activity, both so that I can earn my beer calories, but also that's also probably my most creative hour of the day. And I think I've chosen the sports of bicycling and paddleboarding because they're sports that when you have a creative idea, you can immediately whip out your phone, pull out your notes section if you come up with a beer name or an idea for a recipe, and write it down and keep going. That said, I now have 5 iPhones in the harbor in Lewis that I've dropped off my paddleboard while I'm listening to music. I got a good idea, and then all of a sudden it's like bloop, 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 bloop.
Someone's gonna pick them up years from now and find all these secret
cranberry orange pilsner, of course.
They're like what do they call those things? The time capsules. They're like digital time capsules.
That's awesome.
Now it's incredible, like all the research you did with ancient brews and everything that you've done experimenting. When somebody comes and interviews for you to kind of work at the brewery, what would it take for somebody to really impress you, where you go, whoa, that's not like a normal person, as in someone that you're really interested in?
Yeah, well, I'd say that's where I lean on how proud that I am that Dogfish Head success is really the success of the entire community of coworkers. And when we're hiring someone, one of the things that we've traditionally done is when someone comes in to interview, they don't just interview with the people in the department they're going to work in. There's time that they spend hanging with people outside that department just to learn about the company culture from other touch points that might not be their day to day. And then the feedback from those people, it's equally important. Does that person feel like, is it someone we want to hang out and drink beers with, not just their resume? And there's even what we called a liquid truth serum component to the interview, where at night, after a day of interviews, we take them out drinking, and then we see if we want to hang out with them after they've had a few drinks. So the liquid truth serum component of the interview is just as important as the.
So many of my friends would fail that part of the interview.
There've been so many times where the fucking train came off the track and we're like texting from a bathroom, like, get me, out of this situation. This person's a nightmare after they had 5 beers. But thankfully, most of the people that make it through that gauntlet, they stay with our company a long time, because we are so discerning on those hires that they have to be both a great cultural fit, someone you want to hang and drink beers with, and good at whatever their job is on paper.
Was it hard for you to, like, you kind of went from a one-man band kind of entrepreneur to, building a very large, was it hard for you to kind of hand over the reins at some point, like in the brewing process, and the marketing and all that? Was it hard to kind of let that go?
Yeah, probably if you talk to a bunch of my coworkers, they say I haven't done a great job of letting parts of that go. But I do know like what things I am passionate about, and B, bring value to our company. And thankfully, I think they're pretty much overlap, which would be the creative side, coming up with recipes, coming up with ideas for events or collaborations or a new t-shirt design or partnership. So that's where my love is. And I always proudly, if I get to travel abroad again someday, one of my favorite moments is when I come back into our country, is when you have to sign those forms and it asks what you do. And I always proudly write down that I'm a brewer, and I consider myself a brewer first, and a business person second. And I think that really informs what I've been fortunate enough to evolve my job into, focusing on the areas that I'm not only good at, but that bring me joy, because I suck at like accounting and finance and HR and that kind of stuff. And thankfully, there's awesome people at our company with complementary superpowers in the areas that I don't have any.
I've listened to your TED Talk video, and I bring this up every time we have a brewer on here. It's always fascinating to me, the craft brewery community. It seems like everybody's together. I never hear about like a war between two breweries. Everybody's like, man, I want to work with you. Let's make something and all that. Yeah. But it seems like every other business, you never hear like two restaurants, hey, let's come together and let's make like a nacho plate that's never been done before. Right. Like, why do you feel that always is? And all, because it's just, like I said, it just amazes me how much love is in that business, and there's how much competitiveness in every other business.
No, you're totally right. And it's always been that way, from when Ken Grossman, who founded Sierra, tells a story of him going to visit Fritz Maytag, who opened Anchor Steam a few years before him, and that Fritz opened his door and toured around the brewery. And every growing brewery has like a boneyard, like a scrapyard of shit they outgrew or equipment they don't use anymore. And there's even that informal thing where Ken got to go through his boneyard, found some piping and shit that he sold him like at scrap value to open Sierra Nevada. And I think that it just established itself as a mutually supportive, altruistic community from the days of those pioneers. And I think part of that comes from the fact that we're still Davids among Goliaths. So collectively, all the American-owned indie craft breweries that fit the Brewers Association's definition of an indie craft brewery, so that'd be us, Boston Beer, Yuengling, Sierra, New Belgium. Well, I guess New Belgium's not in that definition anymore, but Sierra, down to the local, the other halves, the Tired Hands, all of us collectively have like 15.5% market share. So we're still a David up against Goliath, even though craft beer is a lot more available than when, Dogfish opened 26 years ago.
All right, Sam, I want to hit you with some rapid fire questions.
Do it.
Okay. Don't even think about them. Just answer. Okay.
That's how I've lived my whole life.
All right. Worst failed beer experiment ever made at Dogfish?
I'd have to say High Alpha Wit. It was a wheat beer made with peppercorns and lavender buds. And we used to do these comment cards. So consumers would give us feedback. And the first comment card said, this beer tastes like tongue-kissing Laura Ashley.
Wow.
Yeah, we use too much lavender butts.
See, I always said, I've been telling Scott this, like, I'm not a brewer. I would always like a cantaloupe with like a back end, like of a peppercorn, where you get like real sweet, and then you get that little tingle at the back of the throat at the end.
Ooh,
Put in your
nice.
notes.
That's
Name
good.
it after
And
me
our Namaste,
for the
which is our,
show.
so our yoga theme, like our original active lifestyle beer that we still make in the Mid-Atlantic is called Namaste, and it's a Belgian white that has, to your point, has the sweetness of real orange juice up front, but then we do add some peppercorns to it in the back to dry it out. So you're on to something, Michael.
All right.
All right. You're known for a lot of music collaborations, a lot of different music artists from, Grateful Dead, different things like that. Pearl Jam beer, I remember years ago.
Yeah.
What would be your dream band to collaborate with? And what would a Nickelback ale taste like?
Oh, Nickelback would taste, I think, like licking nickels. So I got great respect for their creative journey, but it's not my journey.
Right.
I do respect that band. But then if I had my druthers and could collaborate with anyone, honestly, I'm probably dating myself, but it'd probably be Bob Dylan. I mean, imagine trying to create a recipe with a Nobel laureate that also did so much, in his world and touched so many genres of music and collaborated with so many other amazing artists. I think that'd be an awesome day of learning from essentially the Yoda of the living creative world,
Yeah. Sam's all-time favorite Dogfish beer.
So that'd be Sequench. There's never been a beer in our 26-year journey that I've drank as a bigger volume of, and that's saying a lot because we only released it half a decade ago.
I was just gonna say, it's relatively new.
So 60 Minutes, certainly number 2 in volume consumption for me through my life. But Sequench, it just hits all my buttons, and everyone's palate is different, but for me, that sea salt, the lime, the refreshingness of it is exactly what I love about beer.
Was there ever another name in mind for the brewery?
Oh, that's a great question. What the hell else? I don't.
We've had a bunch of rappers on the podcast, and that's my favorite question to ask them. Like
their band names,
like what other rap names they have, and they're all terrible until they come up with like the first,
didn't Childish Gambino use the Wu-Tang name generator to come up with his name?
Is that true?
I didn't hear that.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I hope your listeners get to Google search that. I think that's still up somewhere, the Wu-Tang name generator, because it's a lot of fun to check that out.
All right, last one. Every brewer we talk to or associated with generally looks like me. They got a beard and some kind of shirt. Never seen you rock a beard in all these years. Never seen even a picture of you. What? How'd you not succumb to the beard pressure?
My wife's across the room at her desk laughing at me now because one year, just to show my support, I did Movember.
Right.
And I looked pretty fucking creepy. I kind of looked like the idiot brother of Bob from Bob's Burgers. Wasn't a flattering look.
Fair enough.
With everything you have done with the brewery, the inn, the distillery, like one amazing thing when this whole outbreak came out, you teamed up with the state of Delaware to create sanitizer and bottled up to them. I'm kind of curious how long of a process that was from getting the idea to finally going, here you go, let's help out.
Oh, super fast. And, James Montero, who runs our distillery, deserves a lot of credit there. But, thankfully with hand sanitizer, the main ingredient is ethanol, which is also the main ingredient that's in vodka. So it didn't take us a ton. We had to add some auxiliary ingredients to quickly, pivot and, convert our distillery into making sanitizer. But it was a super heartwarming, it just felt so good in that stressful moment in the early days of COVID. It's like, first you're like, all right, am I safe? Is my family safe? And then is my community safe? And that we had this capability that was unique because of the business we were in. It was kismet that we had the materials to keep our community safe to some degree. And we also really felt icky about making that a commercial, opportunity for us. So the profits from the sales to the state, which is our biggest customer, we created a fund with the Delaware Restaurant Association so that those profits went to the out of work hospitality workers in our state.
That's awesome. So I got a couple questions from people. A bunch of them asked me the same thing when I was telling them we were interviewing you. So you had Brewmasters on Discovery Channel for a while.
Yep.
Love the show.
Thanks.
A lot of people love the show. So the rumor was that it got canceled due to the big companies pulling their advertising. Is that true? And part B, did you ever think about kind of revamping it and doing it independently?
Yeah. So I will say, without naming any names,
Right.
yes, like the show had just a week before it launched, the execs at Discovery came to me and said, we're going to have this major brewing company be the main advertiser on your show, and they're going to create ads that kind of look like the show. And I was like, I can't stop you from doing that. I know it's during the commercial block, but folks ask us about it on social media, we'll say how we feel about it. So we did that, and then the big brewery didn't appreciate that, and they threatened to pull their money. So we just said, hey, we had a lot of fun with the great respect for the folks at Discovery, but after one season, we're like, this doesn't feel right now. That said, yes, we make our own. We love still making short films. You can go to Dogfish Head's YouTube channel. We had some fun doing some short shows with our friends at Complex, the same folks that do Hot Ones. So you never know if you got folks turning in that do programming for shows. We'd love to chat with them.
Awesome.
It kind of leads to one of my questions, which is like, with being so passionate about what you create and putting in all the time and getting the right people. When somebody comes into your brewery and they're like, well, what here tastes like Budweiser? That's why I like. Do you almost like cringe, like, oh, no, nothing, please, the door's that way?
Like I said, the same way that within the craft brewing community, the brewers have, collaborate and are respectful to each other. The community really does extend to the consumers and the beer lovers that are out there. And I think we collectively have an obligation to be welcoming, not elitist. And so that's why, beer, Dogfish does beers like Slightly Mighty. We intentionally made that beer to be the exact same calories as Mick Ultra, be slight in calories, but be mighty in hop character. Because when people are scared about craft beer, oh, that's really heavy, oh, that's really strong. If we can give them a 4% ABV beer, that's the exact same calories and carbs essentially as Mick Ultra, but it has a beautiful hop bouquet, that can be a baby step for them off of sort of light lager, terra firma, and onto the flavor bridge of craft beer. And once they get on that bridge, it's very rare that someone walks back to light lager, terra firma.
That's true. I could think of dozens of my Bud Light, Miller Lite drinking friends that I've converted over the years. But
thank you. You're doing God's work in two respects. Then
you have a new book coming out. I'm not sure if it's next month or the month after, but whatever. I know you had Brewing Up a Business. Read that. Yep. Actually, I think I went down to your brewery when you were releasing. I don't know, whatever. But
thank you.
And so you. For those people who don't know or listening, you actually opened up a Dogfish Inn. So tell us a little bit about the book, because I know that it's involved in that too. Yeah. And tell us a little bit about the Dogfish Inn, what that's all about.
Sure. So the book's coming out from our publisher Wiley this spring. It's just called the Dogfish Head Book, and we modeled it in name and actually design after the Beastie Boys book, which is very sort of design centric and photo heavy. And the tone of the kind of writing in the book, we intentionally did it. Myself, my wife Mariah, who's my co-author, and my coworker Andrew Greeley, who's my coworker. He runs the hotel, and at our Harborfront Hotel in Lewis, Delaware, we have this cowboy cauldron in the backyard, which is just this pimped out, sweet, like outdoor cowboy fire pit. And if I'm home in coastal Delaware on the weekend, Saturday night, we do what's called fireside chat, and we invite the 17-room guests to come hang out by the fire pit, drink beers. And the only rules are we talk about beer. It doesn't just have to be about Dogfish. It can be anything about the world of beer. And those are some of my favorite informal, fun meetings over beers with passionate, fans of beer and fans of Dogfish. So we used that model for the book, where we wanted it to feel like a fireside chat. In fact, I got to say, I was drinking while I wrote most of the book.
Thank God for editors.
I would sit at night and have a recorder and tell the story of like 90-minute IPA, the history of it, while drinking a 90. Or I'd think about the story of Slightly Mighty while drinking Slightly. So I hope that sort of welcoming fireside chat, informal tone comes through in the book, as well as the beautiful design work that our designers did on the book.
That's awesome. When's it come out again?
Oh, we think it'll probably come out in April-ish.
Okay, so soon.
I don't think we got the hard pub date yet, but we've delivered all the assets, and now it's just being, put into the format to go to the printer.
That's awesome.
No, we're coming near the end of our interview, and we really appreciate talking to you. Normally, I am with like a kind of corny, funny question, but I kind of
mostly corny.
Yeah, but this is gonna sound weird and bad, but it's actually kind of funny. I want to kind of tell you how at first my wife thought I was interviewing you as an insurrectionist, which
Really?
is yes, because doing the research, I played a video where you talked about the very beginning where you open your restaurant with the brewery, and some guy just came by and he's like, you can't open a brewery here in Delaware.
Right.
And you tell the story, you're like, all right, I'm going right down to the Capitol and I'm asking, where's the House? Where's the Senate? And she's hearing this and she's like, oh my God, you're talking to one of them? I'm like, no, this guy's cool. It's an amazing story. She's like, he's asking where the House and the Senate is. What is wrong with these people?
I never thought of it through that lens. I guess I was before my time in 1995.
But I told her, don't worry. He's a dude with the face paint and the buffalo ears. He's really cool.
Yeah.
He's
I'll
giving
say
us
the major point of differentiation is I did not try to force myself into and I came bearing samples of homebrew, not torches, as I went into those buildings.
So you're considered one of the pioneers of the craft beer movement in America. Okay. Seeing as the other day I saw on Instagram there was a beer with ranch dressing and a beer with pizza on it and a beer with Doritos. Would you like to take this time to apologize?
So, while you might not see that from us, we're glad that other people are pushing the envelope.
You did put lobster in one. I had that.
We
at
did.
the brewery.
Yeah.
Chalk Lobster won an award at the Great American Beer Fest, the biggest beer award competition in the country. Chalk Lobster is an award-winning beer.
Frankenstein wasn't the monster; it was the doctor.
That's profound. That is profound, Scott. I'm gonna stew on that one.
In all seriousness, Sam, thank you so much for your time, man. This really was an honor to finally get to talk to you and sit down with you. Thank Megan for taking care of this. She deserves a promotion, whatever she's doing.
She's good at her job. And I'm glad you guys so did you both dug the hazy?
I love it. I'm going to go have the second one now.
Seriously. Yeah.
Good. We're super proud of this beer. And like I said, go to dogfish.com to your listeners, go to the fish finder and you can find where the hazy O is most recently delivered to a fine establishment near you.
That's awesome. I guess my last question, Sam, it's a two-part question. What's on the horizon for Dogfish? And then two, if you weren't doing this, if brewing never found you, where would you see yourself? What would you see yourself doing?
So, I probably would have followed a path, like yours. It was kind of my dream to be an educator, an English teacher, like a high school English teacher was probably the other goal that I one time had. But I kind of, as I got going with the brewing thing, I just became, my raison d'etre. And I love the opportunity. I get to still write stories and tell stories, but through the lens of the creations. And then which takes me to the other part of your question of what's on the horizon. One that we've been writing the story for 20 years is our canned cocktails, which we're launching about a month from now.
Nice.
But we were one of the original craft distilleries in America. We opened our distillery about almost exactly 20 years ago, and we've been fucking with canned cocktails in our own properties for 2 decades. So we're really excited that we're taking all of that same culinary approach and unexpected combinations of ingredients and flavors that we've always brought to beer into the canned cocktail universe. So more to come on that in about a month.
That's awesome. Sam, thank you so much. Stay safe out there, and please keep doing what you're doing because it's great.
Thank you, Scott and Michael. You guys are fun to hang out with. I look forward to my next beer with you guys.
Thanks. And Sam, can you we always put a little bumper at the beginning of the episode. Yep. Can you say, hey, this is Sam from Dogfish. You're listening to Verbal Shenanigans.
Cheers. This is Sam from Dogfish, and you're experiencing Verbal Shenanigans. Good on you.
Thanks so much, man. And this will probably be up either Monday or the Monday after that, and I'll send it to Megan and tag you.
Yeah, send it to Megan, and I'm Sam at dogfish.com. I can't wait to listen to it and to share.
That's awesome, man. Hope to do this again down the line. Thank you.
Me too. Have an awesome day, guys. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure, sir.
Bye, guys.
Megan, if you're still on, thanks so much. That was great.
You're welcome. Thank you all so much. I'm excited to hear the final product.
Yeah. We're going to decide tonight if it's going to come out this